okay. I don't know that I can go an hour, but we'll see. If you have questions, please stop in at any point in time. Thanks for having me. I'm John Pepin. I'm with Intertape Polymer Group. Some of you may be familiar with this. Some of you probably have never heard of this. What's kind of interesting about our company is, and I find this interesting anyway, is that we're the second largest tape producer in the U.S. And 9 times out of 10, I walk into end user accounts with sales reps, and nobody's ever heard of us. And that's okay. That's we're here to tell the story and kind of do what we do. I brought along some catalogs, and actually, if you could pass those, would be great, regarding the core collection of products that we manufacture. And then today, I'm not a tech-savvy guy, so as you can see, I probably have a whole lot more information on here than what some people have when they do their presentations, but we'll struggle through it here today. In fact, I did well just to actually get your guys' logo up on there today, because that's, again, something I don't spend a whole lot of time doing. But again, I'm John Pepin. I'm with Intertape Polymer Group. My role with the company, and my business card is here, by the way, is I am the territory manager for IPG. So I'm responsible for the state of Kansas, the state of Missouri, and Illinois south from St. Louis. Or if you have people who are traveling into northern or eastern Illinois and need my support, I'll go over there with you in regards to that as well. But in general, that's kind of the area I cover. And what I do in my job is, and you'll find out real quickly here, is not presentations in front of customers. What I do is I spend time working with individual sales reps out in the field, going into end user accounts, making calls, helping them figure out what it is that the customer is using, what products we might have that would be successful for them to sell to those people, going out and solving problems related to the products that we manufacture, doing demonstrations on those products related to all the products we make. If there's equipment sales going on in conjunction with the tapes that we manufacture, because we do make dispensers for the tape that we have as well, that I'm involved in that as well. As a rule of thumb, I'm in St. Louis about twice a month, about every other week. Holidays like this kind of get all goofed up, as everybody's schedule does this time of year. But first and foremost, the thing I want you to know is I can be reached on my cell phone that's on my business card here. My email address is on there as well. I carry a ever-buzzing phone. I'm just going to double check and make sure I got it turned off. I do my best to try to get back with you throughout the business day, but if I'm traveling, then sometimes it's in the evening that I get back with you. Internally, we have a customer service rep assigned to Shaughnessy Paper. His name is Adam Faber, and I apologize, I don't have his phone number here, although on my card there's a customer service number, and Adam's extension can be reached from that location as well.
Could you repeat his last name?
F-A-B-E-R, Faber. And Adam has a backup, so that if he's gone for holidays or sickness or whatever might be going on, and I don't know who that is exactly, but everybody has a backup. More importantly, if you call in at 6 o'clock, we're going to have somebody there to answer the phone, and if everybody else has gone home for the day, somebody will be able to pull up your account and get you the information you're looking for. Now, I don't know how everything is structurally going to be set up for you. Hopefully you'll have access to our B2B website, which will allow you to go in and if you're placing orders, that's great, you can do that. You can track those orders, you can check the status of orders, all kinds of things related to an online site that we have today. If we were talking 6 months ago, I wouldn't be mentioning it. But it's something that's been up and running for at least 6 months now, and it's working great. So you'll see some, I'm sure, some access to that. Another thing that we do online is we have an online training program for all the products that we manufacture, and we kind of do it in conjunction with the categories of products. So for instance, if I show you what's called an typically called an ATG gun, This is a double-coated adhesive gun that lays down a strip of adhesive. We've got a training seminar on all the products that we produce within this category, and then it kind of gets into application specifics of where you might use one version of the adhesive versus another. At the end of it, there's a little test, and so, you know, it's is it A, B, C, or D kind of test. And hopefully we'll have all of you signed up to do that in the very near future. What it really helps is new sales reps who aren't familiar with these products, and if there's any sales calls that are being made, pre-call planning can be made for those with those training seminars. So they're pretty specific to given applications. Okay, I'm going to move to the slides here, kind of cover a couple of things. First of all, I told you a little bit about IPG. I'll let you know, and I'm probably going to say some things now that will show up later in here because, again, I don't do presentations all the time. We are a North American manufacturer of adhesive tape products, everything from traditional carton sealing tapes, and this was all I was able to stuff in my luggage, so I'm going to use these for this meeting, your meeting, the next meeting, and then tomorrow's meeting as well. And I'm going to jump around as well. So I'm also going to tell you that if you ever need samples of tape to test out with your customer, or let's say you're repainting the kitchen and you need a paint tape to go on your wall, what better way than to call John and get a sample to see how our tapes are going to work on your kitchen, so you can relate that to your customers later on. So keep those things in mind. We do that because the reality is everybody uses tape somewhere, and if you're going to go out and test some in your own house and you have good luck with it, we feel you're going to be a pretty good salesman for us with that product as well. So let me know if that comes up and that's available. We manufacture industrial tapes, and what we mean when we say industrial is something that's not being sold in consumer market or retail market. We do have a complete other division that sells within the Sherwin-Williams or the Home Depots or Lowe's or those kind of guys. They have very limited SKUs. They have some kind of oddball sizes that are bought at the retail level. Industrial tapes are sold to anybody who's doing manufacturing throughout the area, or somebody who's doing fulfillment. There's all kinds of different applications that you're going to run into. And one of the things that I'll tell you, and by the way, if I understand this right, you guys are all inside salespeople?
No.
No. You're
We
outside?
don't know what she does yet.
Okay.
Show up.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
She's new, we're trying to find a place.
Okay.
Stick her in a corner.
Well, I assume that I know that in the field, if you're going out to end users, you always want to get in the back door so you can see what's going on out there. And I assume you're asking all those same kind of questions. What do you do in your business? You know, what do you guys make? How do you package it? All those different things. There is 3 tapes that you'll always find in every business that you go out there to visit, and you're probably carrying them in your vehicle. If you're not, you should. And that is duct tape. Everybody uses duct tape. Everybody uses electrical tape, that black vinyl stuff that's 3/4 of an inch wide. And a little bit wider than this is called label protection tape. So when somebody's shipping something out the back door, they put a label on there, they grab label protection tape, strip it off, and put it on there. Every plant I go into has those products. I've shared that with Don and with some of the management here, and if you guys don't have those on hand all the time, available to sell, every one of your customers is buying them.
Well, I would have first thought you would have said packaging tape.
That's pretty true. Not always the case.
Okay.
But those other ones, I found in my experience, they always have those things. Packaging tapes is pretty common as well.
Yeah, that's what I
Carton
meant.
sealing.
Carton sealing. Am I saying
Same
the same
difference.
term?
Sure.
Okay.
And just to even get a little more specific, this is called pressure sensitive carton sealing tape. Reason being is if you ever had a box that you tried to close and you put a little tape on it, if you don't smooth it down, apply a little pressure to it, it doesn't stick very good. So that's why it's called pressure sensitive carton sealing tape, as opposed to water activated carton sealing tape. We are one of the few companies that manufactures all 4 kinds of carton sealing tapes, since we're talking about carton sealing tapes. We manufacture what's called hot melt carton sealing tape, and that's what you saw here. And what we do when we manufacture this is we have an extrusion line that blows the film portion of this. And then we run it through another machine that applies the adhesive on there. There's a lot more processes than just that, but ultimately that's what we do. And the type of adhesive that is on here is what is called a hot melt adhesive. It's kind of like a hot glue. It's modified pretty dramatically, but that's kind of what it is. We also make a version of the pressure sensitive carton sealing tape that has an acrylic adhesive. Any guesses why you would want to use one versus the other? You typically either know or you don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. For acrylic product.
If you're in a facility that is a cold environment, like a food plant, or if work's being done outside, the acrylic adhesive that goes onto the back of this film is softer and works better when you put it in a cold environment. It remains softer and will apply a little easier. The third type of adhesive for pressure sensitive carton sealing tape that we have, and you may have seen it, but it's much more rare, and it almost looks like it's kind of brown or yellow or goldish in color, and it's called natural rubber tape. And we're one of the few people producing natural rubber tape today. It's probably 4%, 5% of our total business, but if you've got an application where a customer has a really dusty or dirty or sometimes even wet boxes, natural rubber tape sticks to it. The other tapes don't do as well. And since we're talking about pressure or carton sealing tapes, I'll go ahead and do my test right now. Water activated tape is the oldest tape, carton sealing tape out there, and we have a lot of success with it. We probably have about 8 out of 10 accounts out there in the marketplace today, and so you're probably thinking, there's not much opportunity to grow in that business then. We've already got 8% or 80% of the business out there. And I'll tell you that that's not the case. Did any of you watch the 60 Minutes episode this past Sunday where they were talking about the drones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing, did you see all those boxes going down the line?
Yep.
In their warehouse?
Is that-
Okay. Every one of those boxes has water activated tape on it. Amazon, who is the retail business that every retail business wants to be, made the conversion to water activated tape about 2.5, 3 years ago. And so far they've converted about, the number I've heard is about $8 million worth of water activated tape. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Well, with pressure sensitive carton sealing tape, on a per inch basis with this, it's less expensive.
Yeah.
The average cost of their boxes going out was about $170-some. With pressure sensitive carton sealing tape, it's pretty easy to take that box, push down that major flap, the big flap that's on the inside there, and it doesn't necessarily always stick really good, so you can push down and reach down in there and grab something. That's part of it. Another part of it, which we wouldn't have believed until we heard it, but in the application of applying water activated tape, they found it was quicker to put on. You wouldn't think that. We didn't think that. Amazon showed us otherwise. They did testing in their facilities. They've got a machine, they push a button, the length of tape comes out, it's already wetted, the box has come down the line, the person applies it to the box, they smooth it out, boom, it goes right down the line. With pressure sensitive carton sealing tape, all the varied sizes that they have, you know, they may have 100 different box sizes coming through in a day. A machine cannot adapt to run the boxes through as quickly as they need them to. So they have to do it by hand. They got the handheld tape gun, you know, where somebody goes, does one of those deals. They also found out I'm going to make a joke here. It's not very funny, but I'll make the joke anyway.
Let's be funny on that one already.
They found out that carpal tunnel syndrome is contagious because they had people out on the line taking these handheld guns and doing this work all day long, and they haul it over to the next person working. Hey, you ever have problems with your wrist? Yeah, me too. Well, they found out that they were paying $1,500, $2,000 for everybody to get this carpal tunnel syndrome work done because this tape gun is really working on it. With water activated tape, it shoots out, they put it on there, they smooth it like this, and it goes down the line. It's really quick. A lot of people wonder too, and by the way, this is called the lick and stick test. Typically, we have you participate in this, but since I haven't met you guys before, I'll do it myself. The lick and stick test, this is a modified cornstarch adhesive that's on the back of this. And what activates it is 105-degree water. And I think my tongue is just about that temperature. We'll see. All right. So, one of the things that people wonder about is, could it be that water-activated tape could be as strong as this?
Right.
Are you strong?
No, but I'll try.
Use both hands.
Oh.
You ready?
Yeah.
Now just lick it,
Don't
right?
pull me out, hold the
Okay,
chair.
hold still. Ready?
She weighs like 50 pounds.
Oh, okay. Let me roll it.
Okay, there you go. 1, 2, 3.
Ah.
So what broke?
Your end, but not the stick and lick part. I mean the lick and stick
We
part.
understood it.
We made it a successful test. Thank
All
you.
right.
The point being, the tape is wetted, and it can stay wet for about 2 minutes. It has what's called an open time of 2 minutes before you need to put it on the box. And then from that point in time, how long does it take before it's ready? Just like that. And it gets dry. The other thing that the water-activated tape does is it becomes a part of the box. It's wetted much more than what my tongue does. And they wet it to the extent that you'll almost feel the wetness when you put it on there. It molds into the box. It becomes a part of the box. Amazon liked it. Most people like it when they use it because if you try to get in that box, you got to tear the box apart in order to see if see what's inside.
So, and how much more economical would that be versus the pressure sensitive? I meant the adhesive. Like average, is that a fair question?
No.
Like
Yes or no? Yes or no? I can answer the question, which is good. If you look on it on a per inch basis,
Okay.
this is more expensive.
Oh, okay.
If you look at it from the standpoint of all these other things that I mentioned, like carpal tunnel syndrome,
Oh, yeah.
loss, all those other kind of things, it's really inexpensive.
See, I would have thought, looking at it, you'd think that was the cheaper of the two.
It's not.
Okay,
It's not.
I'm glad I asked.
Sure.
Because I would have thought, okay.
And I've jumped all over, so I'm going to...
That's just not tape though, that's reinforced tape, right? You got.
This particular one is reinforced.
Yeah.
You're
so
right.
That's gonna be more expensive than just regular. If it was just paper tape with glue on it, would it be
It's very
a
close.
lot cheaper? Or
It's
would it
very
be
close.
similar?
A lot of times it's called box maker's tape.
Mhm.
So if you're buying boxes from the box guys here in town, a lot of times that's what they'll use as a non-reinforced tape. Or they'll use stay tape. Anybody ever heard of stay tape? Okay. We don't make it today. That's something we're kind of exploring doing. And so that is, if you buy little candies or jewelry for anybody, you know the little bitty boxes you have, there's a little piece of tape in each one of those corners that holds that little box together. So that's something we're exploring right now as well. Okay. I'm going to go on to the next page here. Made mention we're the second largest manufacturer of tape. We're corporately based out of Florida, Bradenton, Florida. We originally were based out of Canada, and we currently are we are on the Toronto Stock Exchange, so we are a publicly traded company. I can tell you when I went to work for the company 5.5 years ago, there was a lot of things going on with the company. We were being traded less than $1 a share, and so there was a lot of concern of what's going on with IPG. Today we're trading at about $14 a share, so things have changed dramatically during this point in time. The thing I like to point out here is that being the second largest tape manufacturer in the U.S., when it comes to regard to carton sealing tape, pressure sensitive carton sealing tape, we make more in the U.S. than anybody else, 3M included. And they're the big guys in my business. But I can say that truthfully in that some of the carton sealing tapes, pressure sensitive carton sealing tapes that they make are made overseas and then brought in here. I don't have anything to represent one of the newest marketing things. Oh, yes, I do. On the inside of there, can you see that?
Not without my people.
Just the red, white, blue part.
Uh-huh. It says made in USA.
Made in the USA. We put that on the inside of our cores now, on the majority of the products that we make. We're very excited about it. We think that's a good thing. And I find that most of the people in this part of the country also think that's a good thing. If they're in a plant working somewhere, they like to see that, hey, it's made here in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a way of kind of describing the products we make compared with the competitors out there, 3M, SureTape, Berry, Sealed Air, and Bemis products. We fit all the categories of the packaging items that we've listed here, and you can see where our competition does. We think when we walk into a plant with you, or we go to market with Shaughnessy, we are representing a broad array of packaging items for you. And our goal and hope is to have the entire bundle of the packages that we make successfully stocked with you guys. Dealing with industrial tapes, I'll make mention that we make paper masking tapes. This PF3 blue tape here is a lot of times used in marking applications. We make 36 different paper masking tapes. Why? Because there's a lot of unique applications out there. If you're doing work, let's say you're somebody's doing a painting job in this room, and they need to put it around the edges so that it doesn't drip or go on other things. We've got a tape that will work really well in those applications. But on the other hand, if you've got somebody who's working up at GKN or Boeing or one of the aerospace guys up here, they use a lot of paint as well. And the product that they put on their airplanes is quite a bit different. But they still need a masking tape for those applications. They're going to bake it on. They may need to remove it when it's still in excess of 200 degrees. And the guy who's doing the work in the room here doesn't need that kind of an application. You may have applications where somebody's doing something simple like bundling together something and they're using a masking tape for it. We've got a product that's inexpensive that meets the needs of that application. That's why we make all the different masking tapes that we do. We also produce flatback tapes. Does anybody know what a flatback tape is? This is my favorite tape because it works really well at Christmas time. I've got two boys, 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and it, you know, as a dad, something I find fun and interesting is to take those packages and make them really difficult for them to get into. I like to see them struggle.
Can I have that test roll then? I've been too easy on my kids.
Yeah.
Let's make it go into the afternoon. Gotta work for it.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things that we
Cut that
do
piece off
It's
now.
almost like-
Just that-
Right.
with our tapes is, I mentioned earlier that we use natural rubber. Natural rubber is a great adhesive. It's a very tacky, sticky adhesive. Closing those boxes for those boys or anybody else who might need to close a box, that's a great tape to be able to do it. Flatback tapes like this, we produce 8 of these for varying applications. So for instance, up in, across the river at the Olin plant, There's specific flatback tapes that they use to close boxes there that meet certain specifications that they're looking for, UN certifications and those kind of things. So as you get into the fact that tape's more than just sticky on one side, there'll be chances to bid on specs that people have. Military specs, Boeing specs, all these different kind of things. And as your customers say, hey, I need something, but it's got to qualify, does it meet mil spec, blah, blah, blah. I can get you a whole list of everything we have that meets every spec. And we identify it pretty easily so that all you have to do is look for the spec number and pull it up and it'll show you what matches within those categories.
But these are typically used for closing cartons, but under certain specs, like you said.
Right.
Okay.
Can be used for that.
Flatbacks are, okay.
Flatbacks are. They're also used so that if big rolls of something are being made, whether it's paperboard or big rolls that are going to be transported to other converters. These are used to tab those down to stop that from unwinding as they ship it on to the next stage. Now, another place this is used is if somebody's shipping something overseas. A lot of times they'll want to do what's called an H seal of a box. So if this were my box, and along this portion you've got a main flaps that you're folding down, but they also want to close the edges here. A lot of Asian products, specifically food, they want to have all those openings on those boxes completely closed. Flatback tapes work real well because they're a little stiffer, and when they go around the edge they fold down nicely and it kind of looks like it becomes a part of the corrugated box. And then, again, I told you we make variations on this. We make them in colors, so if somebody is doing some sort of an identification in a warehouse or something like that, we've got those as well. Filament tapes. This one we can't tear. This is our RG16, and again we make a number of varieties of filament tapes. What this is this has a polyester backing on it, which is stiffer, tougher than most of them to start with. But then there's filament inside of that as well. We make it with either polyester filament or we'll make it with fiberglass filament. And so these are used to band together various items. We make a version of this that fits within the refrigeration manufacturing industry. So if you've all bought a washer, dryer, refrigerator, anything, microwave, there's always a piece of tape on there to hold the door shut or to hold something down. There's various filament tapes that are used for those applications. First of all, it's got to hold the product down, but it's also, any of you doing business with any, like True or any of these guys here in town? Okay. One of the things within that business is those products that they make always have an insulation inside of them. And that insulation is highly susceptible to odors. And so the tape, they found out early on, if it had an adhesive on there that had a funny smell to it, it would smell on the inside of that refrigerator from the time that you used it forever and ever. So we now make a filament tape that has no odor to it.
So filament's typically used to keep product closed, and are you mostly adhering to like metal, harder substrates, obviously?
Good question. And the way to answer that is that we make a bunch of different adhesive types, just like we make a hot melt, an acrylic, and a natural rubber. We do the same thing with filament tapes. So depending upon what you're going to stick it to, we'll use the right adhesive for that. And then we also vary it with the amount of filament that's inside of the tape itself to give it added strength. This is a 24 millimeter roll. Most people will say I need a 1 inch or I need a 2 inch. In the tape business, everything has gone metric. So 24 millimeter is 1 inch. It's not 1 inch, actually, it's a little less. When I quote you it'll always have what the metric number is on there. And when customer says, hey, we use 1 inch, I'll say, we make 24 millimeter. Is that what, will that fit? And if you look to see if they're already using something already, that's what they're already using. It's already been converted years ago. So I just like to mention that up front because sometimes people say, no, I gotta have 1 inch. For instance, Boeing here in town, they gotta have empirical numbers. It has to be 1 inch, 2 inch, inch and a half, so on and so forth. That's their spec. So you make exceptions where you need to make exceptions. Did I answer that?
Mm-hmm.
Tensile strength on the filament tapes go up to about 350 pounds per square inch. Really tough stuff. And then we've got, even the lightest ones, you can't break by hand. You almost always have to cut it. You can, if you know how to do it, you can finagle it, bend it, crease it, pop it real hard, and it'll break. But typically, you gotta cut them. We also have the closest plant we have, and if you flip on the back, it'll actually show where all the plants are. But our closest plant is in Carbondale. And that facility produces all of our foil tapes. They produce all of our double-coated tapes, and they produce all of our electrical tapes. I won't talk about electrical tapes because unless you guys are UL certified, you're not selling electrical tapes. And I don't have anybody in my area that sells electrical tapes. If you have somebody that asks for it, there is a UL distributor in Kansas City. They buy some of our products, and that's who I'm going to tell you to call. So, kind of a rare thing. Double-coated tapes consist of ATG type products. Are you all familiar with these? Okay. We have a gun. We have an adapter that goes on this gun, unlike our major competitor in this, and it allows you to run 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch on the same gun. The major competitor from Minnesota has 2 guns, so you have to buy 2 guns if you want to run 2 different sizes. And by the way, I'm going to leave all this here after tomorrow. And if I haven't said this already, we're pretty liberal with all of our samples. If you have customers that need to trial things, let me know. I'll send samples out, including guns and those kind of things as well. We also have permanent bonding double-coated tapes. I brought this one in, and I apologize, it was sitting in my basement. But when I walked in and saw Elmer in there using the wide format printer, this was the tape that immediately made me think about what they're doing in there. This product is a 9mm double-coated acrylic adhesive, commonly used in wide format printing applications. Boy, has that been a popular phrase for a while now, wide format printing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is double-coated, sticky on both sides. And this is used a lot of times on the wide formats where they're going to be folding off those wide prints before they put them up wherever they're going to put them. Or sometimes could be used in applications if they've got a heavy permanent bonded photo or some other kind of print that they're going to put inside of a frame somewhere.
Have trouble with that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now, if somebody, instead of using a gun like this to do double-coated applications, if they're doing things by hand, we also make the same product available in rolls as well, in various widths. This product we make in a 1.6 mil, which is about the lightest that there is out there, probably the most popular though. We make it in 2 mil, we make it in a 5 mil, we make it in a 20 mil, and we make it in a 45 mil. The 45 mil product is used for permanent bonding applications in aerospace, transportation, trailers, trucks, vehicles. If you've seen trailers going down the road today that are pulling horses, the panels that are on the outside of those trailers are not riveted on there anymore. They're not welded on there. They're held on there with tape. It's fun. It's fun stuff.
Now I'm worried they're gonna fly in.
Right.
An inch and a half
Never
wide.
happened yet.
No,
horses fly.
Yes.
We know of.
an 1.5 wide roll of 33 meter tape that is 45 mil thickness that's used in those bonding applications on the outside of trailers sells to you guys for about 65 bucks a roll. And you guys will have a 20% price advantage over the major competitor out there selling that. With this tape, you're going to be selling pallets and pallets to people. With those double-coated tapes, you're going to be selling 2 cases, 5 cases, but you're going to be making more money on those few cases that you're selling of those products. The key is to getting in there and finding out what people use. We also, and I can't believe I don't have any duct tape with me. We make 11 different duct tapes. Everything from a inexpensive 7 mil product, which is you might pick up at the gas station or the hardware store or anything like that, to 17 mil heavy duty type products that are used in all kinds of applications. We used to make a glow in the dark duct tape. We don't do that anymore. So we made all the kind of the retail fun stuff that kids are making all kinds of wallets and so on out of, but we don't do that anymore. Everything is set up really for industrial. In fact, we have a brand new product. It won't even show up on here, but a duct tape that is called a nuclear grade duct tape. It's used in power plants because it actually will not allow transmission of certain vapors. So, point being, I guess, is I'm trying to describe a lot of different applications where different products are being sold. And I know that your guys' focus historically has been within the paper business, but it's going everywhere. And the paper industry still has a lot of applications where we fit. If I walk into a printer today, they're going to be using polyolefin shrink film. We manufacture polyolefin shrink film. I will help you sell polyolefin shrink film to your customers. We're going to compete against Cryovac, Clysar, Sifan, anybody who's out there selling shrink film, we can effectively sell against them. We're also going to be selling them carton sealing tape for the boxes that they have going out, or water activated tape. We're also going to be selling them double coated tapes so that when they do roll starting, big rolls from one to the other going through a press, either double coated or just a flat back that goes across there that allows them to web seam those 2 rolls going into the press, we'll sell that to them. If they're doing any kind of packaging where they're doing any color identification, we can use various masking tapes. We can use a little PVC tape. Sometimes if you buy bread or rolls or those kind of things, you'll see a little bitty piece of tape that holds that bag together. We make that kind of a tape. I rambled on here a little bit. We also have air pillows. So if you're doing void fill, if you know, obviously everybody's buying things online nowadays for Christmas. If you're not filling that box up, then they're filling that box up for you with an air pillow. We've got our own machine. Today it's actually being announced. We've got a brand new piece of equipment and a new apparatus and a new style to put air pillows into the plants. Have any of you seen an air pillow machine and how it works? What happens is you have a big roll of air pillows that are not inflated. And on the side of this roll, as it's coming through a machine here, air's pushed into it, and then there's a heat seal at the end that seals it up right after that air is filled in there. And the downfall, or the hardest thing people have to deal with in working these machines, is that heat seal. Keeping a seal on plastic, you have to have the right temperature, the right amount of time, and the right amount of pressure on it. Those are the things that cause it to seal. And the people who dominate that business, it's sealed air. And they have an entire army of sales reps and tech people who go out and service those nonstop because they have to, because it's a bad system. Today, we're announcing we've got a new apparatus coming out that fills it up, kind of like the old, remember on your birthday, the kid would give you the little pink piece and it'd blow it up and they'd sit on your seat and make the fart noise. You sit down?
A whoopee cushion.
Well, that valve system, the way it fills up, is how we're filling up our new air pumps. And it doesn't leak. And there's no maintenance. That's the key, no maintenance. Nobody wants to have to deal with those problems. So, that's gonna be available to you in the first quarter of this coming year. So keep an eye out for those applications. Within all the products we have systems or what we call dispensers, ways of getting the tape to actually cover the product that your customers are trying to cover. And those may consist of water-activated tape machines. We have them that are, they're both tabletop units. One is electric, you push a button and it spits out the length that you want. Or the old style where there's a crank, you pull it back and it spits it out. We're also in the first quarter of this year going to announce a new method by which that water is going to be applied to the water-activated tape. Instead of having somebody there licking it, no, they don't do that. There's a brush that's in there, and the brush acts as a wicking system to pull the water up and to actually allow the tape to go across the top of that brush, and that's how it wets it. But as you can imagine, this adhesive going over a brush all day long, at the end of the day, that brush gets all gummed up. Just the way it happens. We just patented a brand new process whereby which there's a little bitty roller inside of the machine, and as the tape comes off, there's a little roller here that moves along with it, and it just rolls like this. And so this roller's down in the water itself, and as it rolls, if any adhesive comes off the tape, it hits that water, and because it's heavier than the water, it falls back into the water, it falls to the bottom of the tray. So the maintenance, instead of being once a day cleaning that brush over in a sink somewhere, involves somebody going, dumping out what's remaining in the bottom of that container at the end of the day, along with any adhesive that's in there, fills it up and goes and puts it back on. It's simple. Now we took it a step further. We've already introduced it, but we've got a piece of machinery to be able to run boxes through automatically with a water-activated tape mechanism. And why did we do something like that? Because Amazon asked us to. They thought it was a good idea to have those tabletop units, but they thought it was a better idea if we could automate the format to go faster and faster for them. So we can run now, when somebody says, what's the cost between the two here? We can say, oh, by the way, instead of running a 2,000 yard roll, we can run a 5,000 yard roll on this machine. So they can run, a day and a half before they have to do any kind of changeover. And we can also run it thinner. We'll run a 48 millimeter width on the water activated tape. So we reduce the overall cost because it's narrower. Then it becomes real cost effective. Ballpark figure on a machine like that is going to run around $18,000. So not everybody can invest in one of those. But for somebody who's really into that business, they're going to do it. And if you're dealing with somebody who's doing fulfillment as their business, that's their sole business, it makes sense. They're gonna buy it. They're gonna buy this tape. They may buy printed tape like we have. For what it's worth, we got a promotion going on right now, and it only goes to the end of the month. So I'm sorry to have to tell you so late in the game, but we've got a promotion going on where if a customer buys water-activated tape from you, they want their logo or they want their QR code. Everybody familiar with QR code? They want their QR code on there, we can put it on there. There's no cost in the artwork or the layup charges and setting up all the artwork for that. We can get it done in 10 days from the time that they approve the artwork, and we ship it out of our Wisconsin facility directly to you. There's no cost to the artwork. There's also no cost for freight on the initial order. You can order as little as 6 cases. There's typically, depending upon the size, there's typically about 10 rolls in a case. All the other products that you're going to be quoting to customers are sold by the roll. You're going to have a roll price. Water activated tape has a price per case. And again, typically, it's 10 rolls to a case. On bigger rolls, it's less than that. Okay. The other thing up in the corner there is a tape head. On a piece of equipment like this curtain sealer, there are 2 tape heads. There's one at the top, and there's one underneath here. You just see it rolling right there. That are actually used to close the flaps on the box and to apply pressure to the tape. Those little red rollers, there's actually a spring mechanism there to apply pressure to cause that tape to be smoothed out on the box. But there's 2 of those on each machine. So what we do, and I'll try not to get into too many of the details, but if you've got a customer that's already got a piece of equipment and they're willing to commit to you to buy the tape, then what we'll do is we'll provide them a new tape head to go in that machine if they need it. So what you're going to ultimately look at doing is saying, you know, do you use a curtain sealer to close your boxes? And I say, yes, we do. You'll say, well, when's the last time you had a new tape head in? I don't know. They won't have any idea. Say, well, does the idea of getting a brand new tape head in this machine, if you'll switch the business to us, make sense. Again, this is all granted that we're going to be competitive on the price of the tape. We figure all that out ahead of time. And then at the end of the day, what we want them to do is to commit to Shaughnessy to buy the tape for the next year. And if they sign on the line and say, yep, we'll buy the tape for the next year, then IPG will provide a free tape head to go into the machine. They go for about $1,200. So I mean, it's a nice investment for us. It's a nice investment for them because they don't have to write that out of their capital expenditure. Even for somebody who's using as little as 1 pallet a year, we'll still work out a program whereby which we can get them a heavily discounted one. I mentioned polyolefin shrink film. Are you guys selling quite a bit of shrink film today?
We saw some of it.
Yeah,
we saw some of it.
Pallet at a time?
I don't know much out of here. I think some of the other divisions sell more. They sell a whole bunch of it in Kansas City.
Okay.
A bunch of it. They sell pallets of it in Kansas City, I'm
Okay.
sure.
When I started with IPG, I only sold polyolefin shrink film. So that's kind of where my background was. So in the event you have opportunities with polyolefin shrink film, we're ready to jump in and help you. Production of this product is in Tremonton, Utah. And we've got all these plants all over the place. And I guess it's a good time to mention that in the event you have a customer who's going to buy a few cases of this and a few cases of this and so on and so forth, it all comes up to $3,000 for a PO for your customer, or even if you're combining a number of customers to come up with that $3,000 PO, all the product ships to you freight free. Is that a pretty good deal? Is that typical?
Are you shipping out of each facility that's manufacturing, or are these distribution centers, or combo?
The Danville facility is a combination. It has stretch film, and then it's also our main DC. So all stock items, that's not a fair statement. Most stock items are going to be stocked in Danville.
Okay.
So we're going to try to ship everything out of there. But what happens typically is we're going to ship water activated tape out of Wisconsin to you. We may be shipping paper masking tape out of the Marysville, Michigan plant directly to you. Shrink film's always going to come out of the Utah facility. So we make that happen though, and that's just how we do it.
Okay.
So shrink film's used in, I mentioned printing quite a bit, it's used in all kinds of food accounts. All kinds of food accounts. And again, when you get into food accounts, everybody wants to know, is the product AIB certified? Do you know what that means? American Institutes of Baking Standards. It's a cleanliness thing. And all food plants meet that requirement, so they like to know how their suppliers stack up. You know, to make sure they are. We are. We meet all those certifications, so AIB certification, all that kind of stuff. I mean, in today's business world, if you're not, as a manufacturer, you're not doing those things, then you kind of look strange out there because everybody else already has. Some of the new products we've come up with in the last year and a half, because this is a little bit old, we came up with called our Grip carton sealing tape. The majority of the manufacturers of boxes today are putting more and more and more, and sometimes in the case of Pratt, are putting in 100% recycled content into boxes. Are you aware of that? Because it's a big deal. It's a way to make the box less expensive. But what happens with the box is once you regrind all those materials and put it into that material to make that box, the box itself becomes very smooth. And with a pressure-sensitive carton sealing tape, that's not a good thing. Pressure-sensitive carton sealing tapes needs fiber on a microscopic level to be able to kind of seep into and to stick to hold that box down. So if you ever have a customer that says, you know what, I've been using tape for years and years on these boxes, it's worked fine, and you know I got this last set of boxes from you and it's not working, I can't get the box lids to stay down. Say, well, you know, what percentage of recycled content do you have in the box? Did it change? But more importantly, call me and say, hey, by the way, they're having problems. We produce what's called an 8100, 9100, and 1100 carton sealing tape that has what's called the Grip carton sealing tape adhesive. And it's designed for high recycled content, 100% recycled content boxes to adhere to those and keep them down. It's, there's not a proverbial silver bullet to be able to close every single box. Some are just tough. I take that back, there is a silver bullet. This will do. Pressure sensitive carton sealing tapes, even the best of them, sometimes will struggle with these boxes that have all this junk in it. ATG, the entire family of ATG products has come out in the last year and a half. For us, that's new. We have a newer shrink film, it's 2 years old now, called GPS, that I can convincingly hand to you. You can hand to your customer. The customer can put it on the machine without any adjustments to that machine, and it'll run great. It used to be, in the shrink film business, that you used to have a technician that went out into the field with the film and tested it and made the adjustments, maybe even changed some of the hot wires and those kind of things to make it run. GPS film will run great. Every once in a while, you'll have somebody who is looking for a very high temperature tape that goes into an odd scenario. So we produced what's called the SMT1 tape. It is a paper masking tape, but it has a silicone adhesive on the back of it. It's relatively expensive, but it's used in applications such as if somebody is doing refurbishment work, let's say on buses, trains, the kind of transportation where maybe two doors come together and there's rubber on both sides of those doors to cause it to come together. When they're painting on the outside of that, they'll use some sort of a paper that goes along that doorway. And they'll use a paper masking tape to hang that paper so that when they're spraying it, that spray doesn't go all over the place. Typical adhesive on paper tapes won't stick to that rubber. That product will. Now also, you'll have applications within the metals industry where somebody is taking a piece of metal, and I'll use the aerospace industry. On the inside of the plane, there's all kinds of little bitty parts holding the frame together and holding doors and different structures in there. And when they paint those, they want to paint them one time. And so what they do to clean that part before they paint it is they'll dip it in what's called anodized solution or a sulfuric acid product. Terrible, terrible product. But it cleans metal really, really well. And in most cases, they want to keep one side where they're not going to do that cleaning process. They can use an SMT1 product to stick to that metal product and dip down into an acid solution, and it won't come off. Now there's two parts to putting masking tape on. The first part is you put it on, the other part's when you take it off. So you're going to have applications when people are asking for masking tapes on, I guess the point is, you need to ask them what they're doing there. Because you need to understand when they pull that tape back off, in the second portion of it, do they need all the adhesive to come off of whatever they put it onto, or does that matter? And the silicone masking tape and some of the other masking tapes that we have also come off very, very cleanly. And that's a big, big deal if you need it. If you don't, people probably don't even know about it. We've got a number of duct tapes and products going into the HVAC business that we can talk about. Is that part of your business at all?
No.
Okay. Let me know when it is.
Yeah.
Because you're going to run into them, because we've got a whole bunch of products for that as well. TPP is a tensilized polypropylene. And I mentioned on the filament tape that you can't tear it. This product you cannot tear as well. It's also used in the appliance industry, but it also might be used to stabilize a load within a pallet. If somebody's putting everything on a pallet before they go over to the stretch wrapper, they've got a big tall pallet. So they'll use a tensilized polypropylene, which is, you can't tear it, it doesn't have any give to it. So when they wrap it around a pallet real quickly, before they drive it over to the stretch wrapper, that load doesn't fall off of there. We've got all of our equipment now, all of our machines are available in stainless steel. Any plant today who's doing a remodeling job, or if a new food plant is opening up, they're going to be using stainless steel. There's a, listeria and all the other bad things that go on in big food plants have become such a big issue that people are trying to figure out ways to not have a plant shut down. And so stainless gives them the ability to wash things down with a more caustic solution and not ruin their equipment. And then I mentioned water activated tape, QR codes. That has become such a huge deal. We had, why we were forced into it was Amazon came to us and said, can you put QR codes on water activated tape? We said, oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd give you another way to advertise. They said, no, we're not looking to advertise. We do plenty of that. What we're looking to do is we're looking to have some of our vendors, Pepsi Cola, whoever, actually put their product on there, and then we're going to charge them for the advertising on the tape. And so what it does, it gives them the ability to, when you have those QR codes, you can scan it and go right to somebody's website and see everything that they're doing. And what we have found also is we've gone to other fulfillment houses and said, hey, look, here's what's going on. These guys are doing it. Does it make sense for you? And they said, yeah, it kind of makes sense for us, but I don't know if it makes sense totally to have printed QR codes on there. We said, well, what if we talk to your marketing department? Do you think they would like to have additional advertising on the tape, especially if you could take it off the boxes? Yeah. Well, do you think they would take that on as a marketing cost and take it out of your packaging budget? Boom, light bulb went off, and they said, yeah, let's go talk to them. So there's some ideas on what printing on tape, where it can take you. We also do all those on pressure sensitive tapes too.
John, I have to excuse myself,
Okay.
because I'm very time sensitive.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
running on a deadline here. It was
Sure.
very informative, thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to your help. And let me know when our time's up, because I don't want to watch it.
It's right about there for the next group.
Okay. I will, let me see if there's anything. I think I'm about done here. Air pillows, we print on those as well.
Okay. Print on tape too, you said, okay.
Yep.
So you'll print on the boxes too?
We will print on water activated
Okay.
tape, on pressure sensitive curtain sealing tape.
Okay,
We'll print on air pillows.
okay. Good,
That is it.
okay.
Covered a lot real fast.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Gosh, no, thank you.
Again, I'm here about every 2 weeks. If we need to do follow-up or end-user calls or whatever you need, let me know. Take one of my business cards, send me an email, or call me, whatever's easiest for you.
Okay, super.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
much.
You're
It was nice
welcome.
meeting you.
Very nice to meet you. Happy holidays.
Yes,
you
thank
too.
you.
Thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jen.
Sorry. I'm gonna put my name on a double-sided tape, so nobody.
It'll all be here tomorrow after we get done, so.
Yeah, just leave it in my office.
I'll get Debbie.
Okay, thank you. Is there a water fountain around, you know?
A water fountain.
Hey.
There's a water fountain right in here.
Okay.
And to the right.
Wow, it is warm in here. It's hot. How are
I'm
you?
pretty good, how are you?
Good.
I'm gonna get a quick drink.
Oh, yeah.
Ready for our second meeting.
All right.
Anything I can get you? Need water or
That would
something?
be great, water would be terrific.
That will be-
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Well, even having the door open helps a little bit. Walk in here, you can tell.
John, I don't know if you remember me, I was at Spicer's.
Yeah,
Yeah. Charlotte.
yes,
Yeah.
glad to see you.
Yeah. And so when Shaughnessy bought them a
Yeah.
year ago, they took me on.
Okay,
So, yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So they're still recording? Yes.
Oh, and I wonder how much I'm on there, because I think I was kind of moving around and,
Well, I think we're gonna try recording again tomorrow.
oh boy. That's fine, that's. Oh, I got, I don't know, did I give you one of these?
No, not the shrink.
And I'll have more tomorrow.
Okay.
I brought general today for
Okay.
everybody. And,
Hey guys,
Hey.
round two. Oh,
Look who it is.
I want to sit by Charlotte.
I was wondering who that was.
Yeah, I meant to take it.
I don't know how you could be drinking coffee in here.
Oh, she's always cold.
I'm freezing off.
She's always cold.
You guys need a trash can in here? I noticed you put trash in your pocket.
yeah,
Kicking it under the table.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
party, huh?
And with Mary.
Well, I'm leaving already.
Oh,
You joining the party?
Stay
We
around.
had our party.
she passed the test.
I did.
Test.
Oh, there's
You
a
can't
test.
find one?
I can't find one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cheating. I'm cheating.
You're gonna cheat, no, you don't wanna cheat off of me.
You might take us someone to see?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir.
We'll have two more people coming yet.
Yeah, we tried to do something with the temperature next door, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Open the window, that helped pretty quick.
Yeah.
Break it open.
Quite a change in the day. I came in yesterday, and last night at about 5 o'clock, I put on some shorts and went out for a nice walk, about 65 degrees.
Put this right here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good, Nick, how are you?
Good, John Pepin, good to
Nice
see
to
you.
see you, John, thanks for being here. We're gonna have another, oh, yeah.
I will mention, like I did with the first group, that you will realize pretty quickly that my job does not consist of doing presentations. So I'll jump around quite a bit and do my best to answer all your questions and hopefully not miss too many things. If there's anything along the way, Dawn, that I may mention that I was going to talk about and I miss it, say, what about this? Let me know. So, do we have any more?
I think that'll do it.
Okay. Well, great. I'm John Pepin. I'm with IPG. I appreciate you having me here today. We are excited to be working with Shaughnessy in St. Louis and the surrounding area and the other markets that we're in. I live west of the Kansas City branch. I live in Lawrence, Kansas, and the area of the country that I'm responsible for is Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois, primarily south of St. Louis. But if you have reps or customers who are in other parts that you need service or need help with, I'm the guy to help you with that as well. The majority of my time is spent working with individual sales reps at end users, qualifying the account, looking at existing business that maybe needs some attention for problems or cost reductions. Every customer you talk to today says, we're looking for ways to do things less expensively. So those are the kind of things we look at. It may be involved with a complete system presentation involving equipment that we have that dispenses some of the tapes that we make. Or it may be as simple as, we've got one specific application and we do a lot of it. And so we'll help you crunch the numbers to find a way to be able to solve the problem or ultimately convert the customer to being Shaughnessy customers. So that's my goal. As I understand it, you work internally primarily. Anybody do any outside work as well?
But Tim, a little bit, right?
A little bit, but mostly inside here.
Okay, all right. I'm going to try to do the best I can today to cover some applications specific to the printing industry, because I know that's where you've historically been. But I'm also going to talk about a lot of applications related to some of the products that I brought in here today and how they might fit into some of the customers that you're talking to as new packaging customers. And I apologize, I only brought these samples today for the meeting today and tomorrow. I didn't bring enough to take off. But I do want you to know that immediately, in the event you have a customer that needs a sample of a product, whether it's a carton sealing tape or filament tapes or whatever it happens to be, we're very liberal with getting you the samples that you need to be able to show the customers what you can provide for them and show them how it's going to work, because that's the best way to do it. And I made mention with the first group, and I'll mention it to you as well, we make a lot of different masking tapes. And in the event you're going to be doing a painting job at your house this spring and you want to put some tape up to see how that IPG tape works and use it, please do. I can use you as a success story. More importantly, you can use us as a success story in how that tape functioned. So, thanks. I'm glad you're here. No, you're fine. I'll start off with telling you a little bit about IPG, or I guess talk about my agenda today. Talk to you a little bit about us as a company. Want to try to maybe cover some of the nuts and bolts as far as how we function with you. Since I don't really know all those, I might even ask some questions on how we're going to have everything work together. I'm going to cover some of the packaging items that we manufacture and how they're going to fit into your daily sales packet, or in Elmer's case, his trunk, what he sells out of. I mean, because all good sales guys carry all those samples with them, and we want you to do that as well. We're going to talk to you about some of the solutions, some of the strategies that we have for marketing the products that we have. And I don't know what marketing inside the box means, but we're going to talk about boxes a lot, because tape in particular is used on boxes all over the place. So we'll cover a lot of box scenarios. We're the second largest tape manufacturer in the US, behind this company in Minnesota. And I've got some core catalogs here that has some of these products listed in here, and it's really just kind of like the tip of the iceberg to show you some of the basic things that we're doing there. But we were founded in 1981 by a fellow by the name of Yoel, and his son is our CEO today. So we've really remained a pretty close-knit, focused business on what we do. At that time, we were based out of Canada, and today they've corporately moved the headquarters to Bradenton, Florida. And we are traded today on the Toronto Exchange. And I'll just tell you a short note related to that. I came to work for IPG about 5.5, almost 6 years ago today. And the company at that point in time was publicly being traded on the New York Exchange. And we were trading at about $1 a share. And the company was going through a lot of changes, and the investors weren't so sure that $1 a share was the right price. And so the price declined pretty dramatically. And within about 9 months after my initial employment, we were trading for 23 cents a share. And a lot of people were asking questions, including me. But Mr. Yoel, our CEO, took a look at the company. He's made a lot of changes in that time span. Some of those things have included getting rid of products that didn't make sense for us, adding some products, and I'll make mention of those, that made sense to us. We closed a couple of facilities in this past year. We took the equipment out of those facilities and put them into other plants because it made sense. I can tell you today we're trading at about $14 a share. So we've done some things right in the last 4 years to make sure that our core business is solid and moving forward. We've also committed earlier this year to building a new facility in South Carolina from the ground up. $48 million facility to make masking tapes, filament tapes that will be not running on old pieces of equipment, but literally like your guys' big wide format printers in here, the newest, the best that's out there today. And so we're going to be glad to share those with you. In fact, we're going to beg you and ask to go out and find homes for these new products because they're really going to be state of the art. We like to compare ourselves in the market against those other manufacturers, but as you can see based upon this chart that we produce a lot of different things within the packaging industry. Our competition is kind of spotty on what they actually cover. Bemis, just a couple of years ago, was involved in a lot of different tape businesses. They were involved in a lot of shrink film business. They were involved in a lot of stretch film business. They're not in those today. So it's really a very, very competitive marketplace out there within packaging today. The one thing that I know that when Don and I sat down and talked about what your strategies were, that we thought was a good match was that you weren't looking for a new carton sealing tape business. You weren't looking for somebody to really go to market with on that. It was to look at the entire package of what we have. And when we go to market with you, we're going to do that in a format that I'm going to walk in with the sales rep to the account, and I'm going to be really focused on all of these items that we manufacture. So that when we walk through and do audits and presentations and sales and those things, I'm going to be looking for all those things. And we do that for two parts. It helps you to become the supplier that your customer ultimately has to have, wants to have, because you're going to be able to solve all these problems for them. But you're going to gain pricing advantages by being able to buy that whole package together and get it shipped freight-free. And I'll talk more about that last statement here in just a little bit. And please stop me if you have any questions. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the industrial tape products that we manufacture. Right now, I brought some samples, and if you flip actually on the very back page of the book, it'll show where all the manufacturing is that we do. and it's North America. We've got plants as close as Carbondale, Illinois, where we have a facility there that produces foil tapes. They produce double-coated tapes. They produce a lot of electrical tapes. Electrical tapes, I'll make mention only in that the people who are selling those are UL-rated distributors. And I doubt that you guys are. I don't have anybody in the whole area that is, other than one account in Kansas City, and they're kind of like a master distributor for all electrical parts, so it's kind of like to mention that one up front. Occasionally you'll have somebody ask for electrical products, and I'll get you set up with those guys in Kansas City as you need those products. But one of the first thing to talk about here with paper masking tapes, we make 36 different paper masking tapes. And why would we want 36 different masking tapes? Well, because there's that many customers out there that have individual applications specific to paper masking tapes. This blue tape is a PF2 product that is used for coding or identification. We make it in about 8 different colors. Purples, and yellows, and reds, and all different colors. My kids, of course, like playing with different tapes, so they'll use that occasionally just to goof around with Dad's samples. We also make masking tapes. I believe this is a PG21. So just north of here, where on McDonald Boulevard is up there, Boeing is there, and GKN, and some of the other aerospace guys use masking tapes when they're painting aircraft. And the reason they do that is because they don't want that spray to go on other parts of the airplane. There's 2 important things about masking tapes when users are using those. The first part is when they apply it to the wall, or the airplane, or whatever it happens to be. The other part is when they take it off. And if they pull it off, say you're painting a stripe along your wall here, and they're painting along here and they don't want anything to drip down between, we're going to suggest specific tapes that have a nice sharp edge, but also so that when the fellow's done painting, they can grab it and pull that whole piece of paper and have it come all the way off around the room, because it's a lot quicker for them. So when you're, as opposed to picking it off the wall. So if you've ever gone to the hardware store and you're doing a painting job, and you see there's a roll of tape there and it's $1, and you see another roll of tape and it's $3, and you see another one there, it's $9. And of course you don't want to buy the cheapest one there, you don't want to buy the most expensive, you buy the one in the middle. There's reasons we have all these different tapes. That dollar tape, they're going to have to pick off the wall. It doesn't come off very cleanly, it's not very strong, the adhesive may stick to the wall. It's only designed maybe really to hold a couple of boxes together or something to that extent. It's inexpensive, but ultimately that's what they want, is something inexpensive. The guys in the aerospace business, they want it to do everything they need it to do, and prices are irrelevant. So that's why we make those products. The next tape is one of my favorite tapes. It's a flatback tape, and we have 9 different versions of flatback tapes. And what a flatback tape is a craft tape that can be used to seal boxes. A lot of times this is used in applications where a box maybe will be H-sealed. So what I mean when I say that is, if this were my box, and I fold these 2 major flaps together, I'm going to put a strip of tape down the center, and then I'm also going to use the flatback tape to put on the ends to cover those seams as well. If you've got any food accounts that are going to be shipping to Asia, they always use flatback tapes to close those boxes completely, because they don't want anything dust or anything coming inside those boxes, and it's a way for them to be able to ensure that happens. Flatback tapes are also used so that if somebody they've got a big roll of paper or corrugate or something, to that extent they may be using to fold down the very last portion of that so it doesn't unspool when they're shipping it or it's going through any kind of packaging. So that's where flatback tape is being used. As you can see, this is a pretty aggressive adhesive on here. This is a natural rubber product. And we use natural rubber in a variety of the tapes. As a matter of fact, in each one of the categories of products, we'll put either natural rubber, acrylic, a hot melt, or some blend of all those products together in a given tape. So when I made mention a minute ago that we've got masking, we've got 36 masking tapes, we've got a number of different flatback tapes, we've got a number of different filament tapes. Depending upon what your customer's looking for in that given application, we're going to have a specific adhesive on that tape just for that application. And then it may be a variation on a different thickness of paper. There may be the filament tape, oh, I don't know where it went to. Anyway, the filament tape may have more filament in it to give it more strength. We do it because there's enough applications out there that your customers are going to ask for specific items. And we've got those items for you. Another point for me to be able to jump around, because that's typically what I do whenever I talk in meetings here. We've got a cross-reference guide for every category of product that we have, so you can cross-reference the competitors' products, whether it's the guys from Minnesota, or it's Bemis, or SureTape, or Sealed Air, or whoever. We do that to make it easy so that when your customers say, I'm using XYZ brand and style is whatever, it's easy for you to match up and be able to find out exactly what it is that they're using. When Elmer and I go out and make end user calls, we're down there on our knees looking at the boxes, going, oh yeah, you're using this one, this one, this one, so it's easy to match up that thing. The key thing to always ask is, when you find out what it is they're using, is, does it work? Does it do everything that you want it to do? Is there, and I always try to ask somebody who's actually using it, what would you have this tape do differently? Would it be easier to come off the roll? Would that make more sense for you? If it tore more easily or less easily? If we made a longer roll, would that make it easier for you? All those kind of things. Filament tape. I had a roll of filament tape here I was going to...
I saw it earlier.
Yeah, I was looking at it.
It might be used. That's okay. We've got filament tapes for all kinds of different applications. The picture here in particular shows an appliance account. And there's a couple of big appliance accounts in and around the St. Louis market. And for packaging people, there's invisible bullseyes on the outside of these buildings because we all know where they are and we know that that's a target for us. So it's something we all are aware of, such as True or Hussman or in all these accounts. Those are pieces of business that we would all like to have. So that's my
So
invitation.
filament tape is what though, basically?
Filament tape is either a polypropylene or a polyester backed product, such as this carton sealing tape, typically thicker, and then it has fibers in it that are either going to be polyester or fiberglass as well. And what that does is it gives it tensile strength so that it can hold down shelving in this particular case, or hold a bundle of pipes together without stretching. And then it has to have the right adhesive. In this particular case, this product's got to be able to stick to that PVC piping, so it's got to have the right adhesive on it. This is much trickier in the appliance industry. It doesn't have to have a whole lot of strength to be able to hold on to that. But on the inside of the doors and those refrigeration units, there's insulation on the insides of them. And if you put a tape on there, just a standard tape, the adhesive aroma that comes off the tape when you pull it up, and if you deal with old tape guys, they'll always pull that tape and sniff it. They think they know what the adhesive smell is supposed to be. Well, sometimes those acrylic adhesive smells are fairly offensive. And in the case of an appliance, if you put that tape with an offensive smell over those doors and shut that door, those aromas seep into the insulation that's in there, and they're there forever. You can't get rid of it. So what we do is we make a tape that sticks well, that has the right tensile strength, that has no smell, because that's what they need. Now the facility in Carbondale, as I made mention, produces double-coated tapes. So you've probably all seen ATG guns. We make ATG guns, ATG tapes. We make the same product available in rolled stock, so that if your customer happens to be using it to do, let's say, pictures, and it's easier for them to operate that way, then we make it in this format. We have the guns, we provide you the guns. We have one gun that will run both sides of tape, whether it's the 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. The guys, the major competitors have two guns for those products, and a little difference there, they don't have to buy two guns. So it's $30 they save every time they don't have to buy a gun. We make the product available in a 1.6 mil, we make it in a 2 mil, and we make a 5 mil. We have additional double-coated tape products that are available, like this product. I was pretty excited to see Elmer using your big wide format printer in there, because we've got a 9 mil clear, actually I think it's a white acrylic adhesive that's used for double coat applications in wide format printing, so that when they fold that in, this product will hold it on there, I don't want to say permanently, but for a darn long time. It's a very sticky, strong adhesive.
That's not the same stuff I use on my golf clubs, was it?
No, that's different. That's a paper masking tape, and that's $5.91. Did you do that?
Kinda.
Well, good. You didn't
You
hear
have
this.
to practice with it.
You didn't hear this earlier, and I told everybody, I said, if you're painting a room, let me know. I'll send you, the masking tape, so you can try it out, and then you can be the reference point for the products. So.
Maybe some tips on installation too. You're available for that.
I'm not available for that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we make a double-coated tape that is a paper masking tape, our 591 style, and if you are a golfer, then we're fairly certain that the tape that's on the inside of your golf grips has 591 golf tape on it. That's what it's primarily used for. But it's used in a lot of different applications as well. And again, if you're re-gripping your clubs this spring, I can't get you the grips, but I can get you the tape, so let me know. The other double-coated tapes that we produce out of Carbondale are pretty interesting. We make a 20 mil version of this, and we make a 45 mil version of this. There's a product out there by the guys in Minnesota called VHB, and our version of that application has a tape that's called AFT, acrylic foam tape. Have you ever heard of it? It's great tape. It's one of the coolest tapes that there is. Of course, I'm a geek, so. It is used in permanent bonding applications, and if you're going down the highway someday and there's a stock trailer with horses in it, the panels on the outsides of those trailers are being held on with double-coated tape. That tape. And there's a lot of different trailers, trucks, aircraft, all around the place that are being used today, that are using double-coated tapes to hold products together instead of rivets, welds, and that type of application. And the reason they're doing that, it's lighter in weight, it takes 1/10 the time to do the work that they need to do versus doing the rivets. And again, it's a permanent bonding application. It works. And I can tell you, I don't want to discourage you from selling any of our products, but I can tell you that you can sell a couple of pallets of this tape, or you can sell a couple of cases of those double-coated tapes and make about the same amount of money. So it's fun. It's fun to have the options to sell all the different things. So I guess the key point I'm trying to get at is when you talk to your customers, say, hey, I've got somebody who makes tapes for every application I've ever imagined. Where are you guys buying tapes? And a lot of times if you hear the word 3M, or if you hear the name Tessa, let me know, because those are companies that we match up extremely well. They're good competitors in that They're not ashamed to charge a fair market price for their product. We've got ways to be able to go in and compete with them on a costing basis, and we match up really well with the performance as well. So, again, I'm kind of going all over the place, but duct tapes. We produce, I believe it's 11 duct tapes today. We make as light as a 7mm duct tape, which is, you might, go buy at the QT if you have to have something at the last minute to fix. And if you need to buy something that's going to match up with the neighbor who carries the Gorilla duct tape and the Gorilla glue, you gotta have the big heavy stuff. We've got a 17mm duct tape as well. We have everything in between. Sometimes we'll have people asking for duct tapes in colors for color coding purposes, or they just think red duct tape's really cool, then we've got that as well. We make them in various widths. I think 6-inch width is the widest duct tape we have. You don't have people ask for that very often, but we make it for some unique applications. We just came out with a new product that is a nuclear grade duct tape. It's designed to fit into the power plant industry, where maybe they're doing some internal work and they're putting up some sort of a barrier product for moisture or for oxygen transmission, and this product has very little transmission rate, so it meets certain qualifications that they might be looking for in the work that they're doing there. And it's also pretty cool just to have some nuclear grade duct tape. Speaking of which, we have a laundry list of specifications that our products meet. And as you get into more packaging applications and get into end users who are looking for the really specific items, just ask real quick, what code is that you're looking for? Is it a military spec you're looking for? Is it a BAC spec, which is a Boeing aircraft spec? Or is it, a UN spec? For instance, up across the river at Olin Industries, where they make ammunition, there's various specs that they'll have, like on flatback tapes, that the UN products that are sold out of there has to have, so we meet those. But that's real simple for us to provide those for you, so that when somebody says, do you have anything that meets this? I encourage you to go look for the unique things, the ones where people say, nobody makes it. I've been buying this from 3M for 20 years, because I had this happen this past year. I've been buying this from 3M for 20 years. I can't find anybody who does this. Now, it took me 9 months to get a product spec'd with them, but at the end of that, the engineer said, it's taken me 20 years to find somebody who could do this, and if you need somebody to give you a testimonial, I'm your guy. I could have paid him to do that. So we're willing to help you find those testimonials and find those right products for those unique applications. Foil tapes are produced in Carbondale. They're used in HVAC applications quite a bit. There's a little plant, I think Highway 5, and it goes kind of south out of Bellevue and down that way. 15. There's a little plant down there that makes the boxes, so that when you go to the convenience store to buy a bag of ice, that box that all the ice sits in, well, on it, that ice box has tubing on the inside of it that pumps Freon through it to keep that stuff cold. And that tubing actually uses foil tape to hold it on there. It's also used in the aerospace business, so that if you went across the river to jet aviation, or if you went to Chesterfield to the airplane plant, or the airfield out there, there's another aerospace company out there that does refurbishment work, and they use foil tapes. Because, as you can imagine, if you got an airplane and you want to have it repainted, you can't take a sander and sand it down because it'll scrape up that metal. So they use a caustic chemical to strip that paint off of that. And there's certain parts where they don't want that chemical, so they'll use a foil tape, and it provides a barrier over whatever that product is that they don't want to destroy. Mention electrical tapes, specialty tapes. We've got all kinds of interesting things related to specialty tapes. So, for instance, if you, again, go across the river to where they may be doing refurbishment work with trains or tugboats or those kind of things, they're not going to use a scraper there to scrape all the rust and stuff off those. They're going to use a blasting device, like sand blasting or media blasting they call it. We make what's called a media blast tape, and it's a 90 mil rubber product that will go on the outside of a given product so they can media blast it. Another application where it fits in is monuments. So somebody's burial stone will be, that's how they'll use a wide tape that goes through a plotter printer where they actually cut out, you know, the name states and all, whatever they want on there. And then they put that on the stone and then they sandblast it, and that's what allows those numbers and everything to stick out. A lot of unique, a table manufacturer maybe wants to be able to keep that surface from getting scratched up when it's being shipped. We've got a tape that will go on top of this when they're transferring it so it doesn't get messed up, but then they can peel it off very easily. It has a very easy release. A lot of people are using a masking film for that nowadays, but we still make a paper product that fits in that application as well. I'm not going to beat on that. I can go on and on. There's a lot of those items. The one thing that we do a little bit differently than our competition on pressure sensitive carton sealing tapes is we produce all three of the adhesive types that are on here. I know Don and Elmer can probably tell me all three of the adhesive types that are on there, but any of the rest of you know all three types? There's hot melt, which that's what this is. And the easiest way to tell if something's hot melt, if you have the roll itself and you take it and you go like this, and it comes off really easy like that, that's a hot melt adhesive. And it's designed to come off of there really easily. Occasionally you'll be in a plant where somebody will be testing the material and they'll do that and they'll say, oh, look at that, it's not sticky at all. It doesn't have any adhesive. That's actually what it's designed to do. It's designed to come off the roll really easily. And so on equipment where they've got a line and they're filling a whole bunch of boxes at high speed, it makes sense for the tape to come off the roll really quickly through that machine. Now, if somebody is working in an environment where it's cold, let's say a facility that's a food plant, and they've got to keep everything really, really cold, they'll use a tape that's called an acrylic adhesive. And an acrylic adhesive has a softer type adhesive on the propylene backing like this, and it stays softer in a colder environment. It also works really well in a very hot environment. Kind of works the extremes. So we offer that as well. We have a natural rubber carton sealing tape, which if I had one here, it would look like it was old or kind of brownish, goldish color. And the natural rubber itself is what causes that color to be, or to show up on the tape. Natural rubber is used in applications where somebody's either got a dirty, dusty environment. Let's say if you've got somebody who's doing remanufacturing motors or transmissions or something like that. It's a dirty, dusty, maybe even greasy environment. A natural rubber adhesive has the most amount of adhesive and the softest, stickiest adhesive that there is on it. And it's used to solve a lot of problems if they have problems closing the boxes with either hot melt or natural rubber tape. We also have the silver bullet if they can't close the box with any of the pressure sensitive carton sealing tapes. We're still producing I've gone blank. It is water activated tape. Thank you. Water activated tape was one of the first tapes used for closing boxes. There is a cornstarch adhesive that's on the back. It's wetted, and then it is applied to the box. When it does that, it actually soaks into the box, becomes a part of the box, and literally you have to destroy the box to get the to open it up, or you have to cut through it. And if you, have any of you, well, first of all, did any of you watch the 60 Minutes episode this past Sunday? It was the one where, you know, did you see it? It was,
No.
have you heard the news that, you know, Amazon, it was all about Amazon.
Right.
And Amazon has a drone that they're
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
where they're gonna be,
Track.
okay. But one of the cool things about the episode was they showed all these packaging lines going around. And there's just thousands of boxes going down there. And they all have water activated tape. At least the ones that were in the picture. And I'm thankful to say it was all our tape. We're producing all the tape for Amazon today. And I'll tell you why the reason that they went to water activated tape in just a second. The reason they did it was threefold. One was that the average cost of a box for Amazon was $170-some. I'm sorry, the goods and size were about $170-some. And with the pressure-sensitive carton sealing tape, once that box is closed, this is my box again, and those major flaps come down here, put the pressure-sensitive carton sealing tape across here, you can actually push down that box and reach inside of it and grab that iPod or whatever happens to be inside of it. So they were having lots and lots of product disappear and was costing them. The second part, and I wouldn't have believed this until they showed us, but they found out that they could close that box with water activated tape quicker than closing it with carton sealing tape. And the reason being was they have 100 different box sizes go through a station on a given day that a person has to close. And so they've got a tape gun. This is not a tape gun, but they got a tape gun. They're sitting there doing this all day long, you know, closing those boxes and pushing down the line. With the, and I'll show you a picture in a minute of our machine, but our water activated tape machine has a little plug where you can plug in an eye, and this eye reads a code that's on the box that's coming along, and it automatically knows what size that box is and spits out the right length box. So the operator takes the box, tape spit out, and they grab it and they put it on the side of here, smooth it down, push it down the lane. It happens so fast that some people say, how can we actually see, or how do we know that it's actually being closed? So Elmer's going to help me demonstrate with the proverbial lick and stick test. And I know Elmer well enough, I could ask him to do it, but I won't do
He's a
it.
good guy. Take one
So-
for the team.
Reminds me of Seinfeld. Yeah.
Okay. Typically, it's about 2 minutes that this has what's called an open time. Once it gets wet, then it needs to be put on the box within 2 minutes. Then, it's ready to go. So what we do is, you wonder, okay, it hadn't been on there very long, can it really be stuck together? So Elmer's going to help me demonstrate that it is stuck together. 1, 2, 3. Now the seal is right there, where the lick went,
Filament tape.
filament tape. So we've got versions of this. This is our 240 grade, which is middle of the road, but it's probably, I don't know, for me it's probably 60% of all the water activated tape that I sell is this grade. So the point being, once that's put on that box and it goes down the line, it's sealed. They don't have to worry about it. So when we go visit other fulfillment houses, and so for instance, Best Buy has announced they're going to be closing all these stores all over the place. Because you and I go to Best Buy and we think, that's cool, I'm going to go buy that online for 10% less. That's what we do. So they're closing all these stores. Fulfillment is going on all over the place. So we're showing people this water activated tape as a way to protect not only the product going out the door, but their employees who are having to seal all these boxes. Because it was proven non-scientifically that carpal tunnel syndrome is a contagious disease. Because when I'm sitting here doing this all day long with this gun, and I say, hey, do you ever have problems with your wrist? And that person says, yeah, I do. It's contagious. So, that's the story behind water activated tape, fulfillment industry. The other portion of this is we're also putting QR codes on these. Everybody know what a QR code is? Okay. Everybody's new phone today has the ability to scan those QR codes. And so the strategy or what we talk about with QR codes, since we have the ability to put them not only on water activated tape, but we can also put them on carton sealing tape, is to talk to your customers about putting those QR codes on their tape. It allows them to convert their boxes that may have print on them to boxes that don't have any print, or less expensive. It allows them to advertise on a weekly basis or however often they want to change that information that their QR code will show to their customers. It also allows them to go to their marketing department and say, hey, by the way, don't you think it's a good idea to put this advertising that we can change whenever we want to on our boxes? The marketing department says, of course. Now, that's what my job is to do that. Great, wouldn't you be interested in sharing the cost of this package as well, since you're doing the marketing? So it's another angle whereby which the person who's buying the packaging items can help shift the cost of the packaging, maybe to the marketing department. It's a little bit of a stretch, but also when I've presented this at the end user, the person suddenly looks over this way, and you know the light bulb's going off, and they're thinking, wow, they're thinking of ideas here to help save me money. Okay.
Before you go to the protective packaging, going back to carton sealing tape, if a customer calls and says, I'm just using a standard carton sealing tape, what does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything more than that. That means we've got to ask more questions. And I'm going to get into kind of the system sale portion of it here in just a little bit, but the way it's presented in that fashion, the thing you should be thinking is, okay, I got some questions to ask. First of all, the easiest way to understand what we're going to have to match up, or at least a point by which we can start to match up with what they have, is to understand what they're doing today. Ask, whose tape are you buying today? And they may say, we're buying 3M's, blah, 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 or we're buying something that says Crown something or other on it. There's lots of ways to find out what that product is. And if you don't have a good starting point initially, I wouldn't be surprised. Please call me, that's an easy way to find out. If they share the information with you and say it's SureTape HP 200, I'm going to provide to you, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not, a cross-reference guide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a cross-reference guide where you can match all these items up so you can kind of know where they're at. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that's the right product for them. I had an application yesterday. I literally went in and they were buying acrylic carton sealing tape. And why? Why were they buying that? Well, that's what we've always bought. And that's the answer. So my response was, well, I think I can save you some money, and I think I've got a way to close that box better. Let me show you a hot melt tape. So that's the angle we're going to go. I know that 99 times out of 100, that package is going to seal much better with a hot melt tape because it's not a cold environment. There's nothing unique about it. Somebody had a deal, they offered them on acrylic tape, and they just stuck with it because that's what they've always done. So, did I get what you were looking for there?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Protective packaging. We're going to have a formal announcement late this afternoon. It'll come out into the marketplace. We're going to have a new air pillow package, air pillow program. Do you guys sell any air pillows today? Okay. Are you familiar with what air pillows are? Mm-hmm. So you buy something from Amazon, the box is not full, there's an air pillow inside of it. The traditional way that this is set up today is you've got a roll of bags that's flat. There's no air in it whatsoever. It kind of looks like this. And it's on a piece of equipment, and this piece of equipment dispenses this roll of bags out this way, and as it's coming through this apparatus, right here on the side, there's an air nozzle. and it injects air into this pillow and it puffs up. And then right beyond that, there's a sealing system. And like any sealing system for a polyethylene product, it seals with heat, the right amount of heat, not too much, not too little, and the right amount of pressure. It's got to be pushing down on it as it kind of melts it, just the right amount, not too much. And then speed. It can't be going too fast, it can't be going too slow. Okay, there's a whole bunch of variables right there. And that's why the people who sell the most air pillows in the business, Sealed Air, that's why they have an entire team of technicians that does nothing that goes out and services their equipment all the time. It's not the best system. We've got a new system that's coming out. It'll be the first quarter of this year. We're just announcing it today. And it's fun because I get to talk about my kids. It's designed upon the concept whereby which, when my kids go to the birthday party, everybody brings home a prize, and my boys always want to bring home the little things that you blow up and you sit on the chair, the fart pillows.
Oh.
Right.
That's that valve system that it's set up on. When you blow it up, that's what our air pillows are set up on. Except you can sit on it, and they're not going to come out. It's sealed closed. There's no maintenance to it.
So it's just a valve system?
Yep.
A valve system that closes on itself after the air has been inflated?
Right. There's no heat, no pressure. Vince, who you met, has had air pillows sitting in his office, I think, for 6 months now, with no leakage whatsoever. It's a patented process that we bought the rights to.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because I described all the variables there because I've had to go out and work on all those variables. And selling's fun, and working on equipment's not so much fun, but that's part of what you do. So anyway, that'll be something that you guys can go out and sell to your customers, and sell with confidence that you're not going to have to go back out there and work on it. So
When will we be able to see that?
first quarter. I don't know how early on in the quarter. Okay, with great tapes, you have to be able to use them. And sometimes that's in automated formats. So for instance, water-activated tape, they don't have a whole bunch of people around licking them to stick to those boxes. So they use, in most cases, tabletop dispensers. This particular one has a series of buttons on the side so that if you have various size boxes going through there, you can push 6 or 10 or 20 or 99 or whatever the length is of the box that you want. And it spits it out, and when it spits it out, it runs across a brush that's underneath here. And this portion underneath the brush, there is a little reservoir where there's water kept that's heated to 105 degrees. And there's a heating element inside of there. And that's the optimal temperature, just like my tongue, 105 degrees, to dispense onto that tape and to activate that adhesive that's on there. We also make a manual version of this. The old handheld looks like an old cash register, like this one. And also in the first quarter of this year, we will have a new version of this that we're going to be able to offer with you that will do away with that brush. Because just like the air pillow machine, the brush is a maintenance issue. At the end of the day, the end of the shift, halfway through the shift, the tape doesn't work quite so well. Take a look at the brush and it's all gummed up. So what we've done is we've got a new patented process that we patented ourselves that is a roller mechanism that rolls along with the tape as it comes out. It rolls like this as the tape comes across it. And if any adhesive comes off onto the surface, which we haven't had this occur yet, and we've been doing it for some time, but if that happens, it goes back down through the water again, rinses off. The cornstarch that's on here is heavier than the water. It falls to the bottom of that tray. And so at the end of the service day, they ultimately go fill this tray up again for the next day's use. They pour it out, any adhesive goes right out with it, and then they fill it up again. So we've eliminated the maintenance aspect of that machine. Now the other thing that we're even more excited about is we've got a carton sealing machine for water activated tape. And it's been said and done many, many times. It hasn't been done very well many times. Our machine has the new technology. We've eliminated the maintenance component of it, and that's why we are highly confident that this is going to be a very successful rollout of a new piece of equipment in our industry, not just within our company. And again, I'll go back to the Amazon folks. They're the one who asked us or advised us to focus on this because this was something they were going to buy. With pressure-sensitive carton sealing tape, whether it be hot melts, which is about 80–85% of the market, acrylic carton sealing tapes, or natural rubber, we can run those all on standard carton sealing tape machines that we manufacture. We have those out of our Tampa facility. We have programs whereby which we discount those pieces of equipment heavily for you to be able to sell to your customer, in the same way that Gillette discounts that razor because they want to sell you the blade. We want to sell the tape. So we want you and your customer to have a happy buying experience with the equipment so that there'll be long-term customers for you on the consumables, which is the tape. We also provide our own tape head, which is, you can see here, there's a tape head here, there's one down below that you can't see, you can just see the roller here barely. But each piece of equipment like this will have 2 tape heads, so that when that box comes through there, it tapes the top and the bottom of the box. We have a variety of styles of machines that become really basic units to really high-end, virtually automatic units that your customers may find and use. We have some specialty units so that if you have customers that are maybe fulfillment houses or people who are doing, let's say, half-inch high boxes in what's commonly called a one-piece folder box. There's only one complete piece of corrugate that's coming together, but they end up being short boxes. Maybe they're shipping out pictures like this. We've got a machine that will adapt its head to come down to do those half-inch high boxes. This particular machine will run boxes 2 inches in height, and that is a leader in the industry. That's something that when you go out and sell against 3M, they don't offer. You go out and sell against Little David, they don't offer. Oops, excuse me, sorry. So within the equipment side, we've got some fun things to be able to offer you there to sell as a complete package to your customer. On the tape heads themselves, as you find customers who have IPG equipment, or maybe they've got Little David, or 3M, or anybody else's equipment out there, if they're not looking to buy a new piece of equipment, then what we can do is put together programs with the tape heads alone that our tape heads will drop into their machines and give them virtually a new piece of packaging equipment. Everything else is, the majority of the equipment on a tape machine is long-running, long-lasting. The tape heads are more of a maintenance type product. And if somebody's running one of these machines, they're probably going through a tape head every year or every 2 years. One of the things that we do is we put together packages whereby which your customers are going to commit to you for the tape. And IPG is going to provide them either a heavily discounted tape head, or in most cases, a free tape head. There's a lot of details surrounding that, but they're not sophisticated. And we can put them together on the fly and get your customer converted to buying tape.
Now you have a list of all your equipment installs, don't you?
No. Actually, I don't. But I know we're somewhere.
Yeah.
More importantly, we make a really good piece of equipment. We have been underserved with equipment in this marketplace, and that's okay. When I run into 3M pieces of equipment, which is the majority of it out there, my tape heads drop into their machines. The Little David machines, we have a tape head designed just for them. I mean, you can walk out with it, I can walk out with it, and literally raise the head up, take the old one out, drop the new one in, and they can run, you know, in a minute. It's that easy, it's that quick. It's fun. You solve a problem, you're giving them something, it's the time of the year where you want to give them something anyways. So. But we'll do it in the springtime. Also, on tape heads, occasionally you'll have someone who says, you know, I've got these Deca tape heads that I've had in here, and they're good heads, man. I'm not going to switch my tape heads. You just give me the tape at a really good price. We'll figure out a way to do that. And that's fair enough. We can do that. But we're going to go a step further. If somebody has Deca heads, or they have 3M heads, or my competitors' tape heads that are out there, and they don't want to make the switch, if they'll commit to Shaughnessy again to buy tape for a year, we'll provide them replacement parts for their brand of tape head, because we stock them. So we've got, that may not sound like a whole lot because you're not involved with tape heads a whole lot yet. That's a big deal. Nobody else does anything quite like that. Ultimately, what it comes down to is we want the tape business, and you guys want the tape business. So, because we know that you're going to keep going in there providing that tape, you're going to get all the other stuff that's in there as well. All right, shrink films. When I got started with IPG, my business was just polyolefin shrink film. So this is where I feel a great deal of comfort in selling our products. Not that I don't with the others, but this is my history. So we compete against the sealed air product, Cryovac. We compete against what used to be called Bemis, called Clysar. You don't know that they were sold from the Bemis Group not too long ago. That happened. We compete against Sifan. We compete against anybody in polyolefin shrink film. One of the things that we did last year is we made a commitment to consolidate our efforts within shrink film. And what I mean when I say that is that we took our Tremonton, Utah facility, our Truro, Nova Scotia facility, and we closed it. And we took a portion of the equipment from there, moved it to our Tremonton, Utah facility. We added some additional equipment in there to bring that all into one house. We also took, when I started 5.5 years ago, we had 7 shrink films because we wanted to have a shrink film for all kinds of different applications. And what we found that wasn't the right way to go to market. So what we did is we re-engineered a product a couple of years ago called GPS film that covers 80% of all the applications I walk into today. It'll run on every piece of equipment out there. It has soft shrink characteristics if we need those. So if we're going into a printer, we're going into, who's the guy that we went into a long time ago?
Mulligan?
No, but yes, that would work too. Doing a short stack of papers, and you got a film in there that's causing that whole package of paper to curl up. This product has soft shrink characteristics that will work well. If you're working in an application where they have a bakery and they want a really tight package so nothing moves around there really well, and they want that tough shrink, this GPS film will provide that. When I started 5.5 years ago on the shrink film side, every time I'd do a test or trial, I would send the test material out to you guys, and I'd say, when you get it, call me and we'll go do the test. And the reason I did that is because I needed to be there to make sure that if there was any adjustments on the equipment that needed to be done, that we did that. It was that temperament. We had to make little adjustments. Today, I'll send you samples of GPS film. You can hand it to your customer. Your customer can put it on the machine, and they'll run it, and it'll work great.
What's the other kind of shrink film besides?
The only film that we produce is polyolefin film. We make GPS, that is the big mover, and then we have 2 what's called 5-layer propylene films. And there's HSP, and it has the maximum shrink characteristics of any of the films that we have. Terrific shrink characteristics. So for instance, this is actually a PVC on here, but as you can see, it's really tight around there. There's no wrinkling or anything like that. That's what HSP does. And we also have QSL, which is a softer version of that. Both of those, the thing that they will do that the GPS doesn't do as well, not nearly as well, is there's a piece of equipment that provides a seal system called a static lap seal. And the way to describe it is, let's say you've got these rolls coming off, and instead of having a seal bar that comes down and they make a bag out of this product, this system takes a single wide sheet of shrink film and it curls it around and overlaps itself, and then the product goes inside, and then the seal is made here, and then the product moves down and it comes down again and makes a seal. So the film literally comes around, overlaps itself, and where it overlaps, there's a little apparatus down here that provides a static charge. It's hard enough that it would hurt you bad, but it's literally a static charge. And that just tacks the film together well enough so that when it then goes into the tunnel, the weight of the product then causes it to seal completely. It's kind of almost like a shrink bundling application, except that static charge seals it well enough that's all that is needed. So the difference between the two, HSP and the QSL film, that are the last two that I mentioned, is the QSL has really high slip factor, super high slip factor. So if you got an account where somebody is stuffing these products, once they're shrunk, they're then stuffing them in a box, or if they're doing CDs or something that's thin, or paper, where they've got to stuff a whole bunch of them in there. Even at really high temperatures, if it's been heated up, they can grab it right out of that tunnel and stuff it right into that box. It won't be tacky. That was one of the things that we had to have for high-speed applications. I'll make mention on here, we've got did I send you a list of the stock items, stock sizes?
On the stretch or the shrink?
Shrink.
Yes.
Okay. We've got a number of items that are stock items, so within the printing business, 18-inch, 20 gauge, 12-inch, 60 gauge are items that all your customers are using, and you can buy ones and twos of those. I don't ever want you to buy ones or twos, I want you to buy pallets, obviously, but obviously you got to start somewhere. And so if you have customers that call you at the last minute and you've got an order of all kinds of other stuff coming in, you want to throw on a couple of extra rolls of film to appease this customer, great. Add it to that order. That's going to be $3,000. That's going to get you prepaid freight for everything on that PO. And even though it's shipping from Utah, it's on the same PO, it'll ship freight free. So $3,000 is kind of the key number for us on combined package. We manufacture stretch film. That's the only item for IPG that I'm not involved with, and I don't know it well enough to go in and tell you much about it. So I'm going to have, at another time, Chuck Bate come in and speak with you to cover all that. He's been doing it for 20 years. Oh, we do print on our film. It's rare, but we do print on our film, so if that comes up, we can do that as well. Some of the new products that we've had come out, this is a little bit dated, so it may be 18 months to 2 years old today. Technically, we don't call something other than a new product until it's been in the market for 5 years. So 5 years, these are all within 5 years. CorriGrip tape was developed to help alleviate the problems associated with high recycled content in boxes. There's a company out there called Pratt Industries that sells 100% recycled content boxes. And a lot of people, a lot of the other corrugators are putting high percentages of recycled content into boxes. What that causes in the way of problems for carton sealing tape is that carton sealing tape has to have some fiber coming up from that box on a microscopic level for that adhesive to grab onto and to stick and to hold the product down. And so what we did to come up with a a product that was going to work in these high recycled content applications was a different adhesive type. So it is called CorriGrip. It's trademarked. It is what we use on 8100, 9100, and 1100 carton sealing tapes. That is our 2.2, 2.5, and 3.0 mil carton sealing tape. The other thing, again, that works in high recycled content boxes, water activated tape. It's kind of the silver bullet. We also came out with ATG products, which are produced at our Carbondale facility. We also have guns. We have one gun that works for all of our ATG reverse wound products. If your customer already has a bunch of guns from the guys from Minnesota, our tapes will work on their guns as well. But in the meantime, our guns will work with our half-inch and our half-inch and 3/4 inch tapes, excuse me. The GPS film was released just a little better than 2 years ago. I talked about it. SMT tape is a paper masking tape that we make that has a silicone adhesive. So SMT stands for silicone masking tape, and it is used in ultra high temperature applications. Paper, as I understand it, will ignite a little over 400 degrees. The adhesive that's on this tape will actually remain on the paper and come off of a product well over that temperature as well. It's rated over 600 degrees. It's also used in applications if somebody, let's say a bus company or anywhere where there's two doors going together, sometimes you'll see that there's like a rubber strip in between there. That rubber, when they're painting the rest of that door, they'll put a masking tape on there, and that rubber is not conducive to having anything stick to it, except silicone masking. And the reason that being is that there's a lot of silicone within that rubber itself because they don't want it to oxidize and fall apart. The only thing that sticks to silicone is silicone. Remember that if you're dealing with any aerospace business and they say, hey, I need something to cover the windows on those aircraft, because that's a silicone, or it's actually an acrylic glass that's on the inside of there, and likes attract, and if you put an acrylic tape on an acrylic glass window, it will goof it up big time. And those windows are 15,000 bucks a piece. Just, I've heard stories. I haven't actually made that mistake, but I've heard stories. So if you're working in the aerospace business, be careful. We've got a new duct tape that you all rated. TPP is a tensilized polypropylene. It's a lot like a filament tape, except there's no filament in it. It has tremendous strength in both directions. You cannot tear this stuff by hand. It's odorless. We use it in palletizing applications, so if you've got somebody who's loading a big tall pallet before they take it over to the stretch wrapper and they don't want that thing falling over on the way over to the stretch wrapper, TPP is used in narrow widths a lot of times to kind of stabilize that pallet as it's going down the road. Within the food industry, there's a lot of remodeling going on within the plants to help alleviate problems with listeria and all the other problems that you can have in big food plants today. So most plants, when they are remodeling today, are buying stainless steel tape equipment. All the equipment that we manufacture is available in stainless. None of it is stock. It carries a long lead time. The costing on it is outstanding. It's a great cost. I mean, it's very high. But if they want it, it's what it is, and they know it's going to be expensive. And I mentioned QR coding. We do QR coding, again, on water-activated tape, pressure-sensitive carton sealing tape, and on air pillows. I had an interesting application the other day for air pillows. I was down in Springfield, Missouri, and there's an account down there that makes signs. And so, Orange Leaf, the sherbet company, these guys make all the signs for every orange leaf store going all over the country, so they're building these signs constantly. So those signs, as you can imagine, going on the outside of a building are really thin metal. And then there's the infrastructure for the lighting that holds the lights on the inside of there. It's really thin. And you can imagine traveling all over the country, this stuff would want to bend up really easily. We're selling them air pillows. Air pillows fill the inside of that whole cavity in there so that nothing gets mashed up. I don't know if you call on any sign companies, but there's just endless stuff out there. That's why Elmer and I do this in packaging. It's just every day is something new and interesting. Or I tell my kids it's a field trip. I'm on a field trip today. I think I've talked about most of this, printing on water-activated tape. The one thing I didn't mention is, in the last, this is the oldest carton sealing tape out there. It's been out there forever and ever and ever. And it was kind of moving this way for a long, long time. A couple of years ago, when Amazon kicked off and started doing what they're doing, our carton sealing tape business with water-activated tape has just exploded. Because, again, it goes back to the fact that these guys are so good at what they're doing, and other people want to know what they're doing as well. They're trying to convert to do things that way. It's the best way possible to seal a box. Even if your customer's buying inexpensive carton sealing tape, and all they want to talk about is price, 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 sometimes just, don't talk about price. Say, you know what, I got the best package that you can get. Intertape will print on it. I can get it to you in 10 days. By the way, we got a promotion going on. It started the fourth quarter. It ends December 31st. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue it next year at some point in time, but it has to do with print on water-activated tape. We do all the artwork ourselves, in-house. If you call me tomorrow and say, here's the artwork, send it to me by PDF, we will work that up on the old proverbial blue line, send it to you. We'll have you and your customer sign off on it that it looks like exactly the way you want it to look. From that point in time, we'll convert the order in 10 days. We'll ship it. The first order with this promotion ships free, whether it's 6 cases or 200 cases or whatever they want it to be, it'll ship free. And the artwork, which is normally $50 for one color, $75 for 2 colors, is free. We call it artwork and layup charge because ultimately we make the plates. We're going to retain the plates. It used to be, what's the plate charge? And we're moving the business. I need the plates. We don't do that anymore. That may be about all I've got for the day. I mentioned air pillows. I'll send that to you. I should have that tomorrow about the new strategy with those. More about that. I'm over this way about every other week. Sometimes that changes, but as a rule of thumb, I'm here about every other week. I'm available to sit down with you here, talk about whatever it is we need to talk about, go make end user calls. That's where I spend most of my time. Talk about the sale a little bit. When you call me up and say, John, I need to buy masking tape, customers using 233 plus, what do you recommend? I'm going to say, we've got orange mask, and it's the product that meets all the characteristics of that 233 plus, the 3M cells. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an email. It's going to have the spec sheet on it because I want you to know what it is. So when you talk about it with your customer, you can say, here's all the specs on it. We know this meets what you're looking for. I'm going to send you the price. Okay, I'm going to send you the price. I pulled it off your price page. It's going to have the item number that you would use to order it with. So that's what we would identify as that product. It's going to have the size. Good time to mention this as well. Tapes nowadays have gone metric. So, 2-inch carton sealing tape is 48 millimeter. It has been for years. I'm gonna talk to you about it as 48 millimeter. Your customer's gonna say, I need 2-inch. I just like to be real clear about what it actually is. And if they need 2-inch, nobody makes 2-inch curtain ceiling tape, so they can't find it. But I like just to let them know exactly what it is up front. Also on that line, it'll say 36 rolls per case, so you'll know what the denomination is there. X number of, on curtain ceiling tape, it'll be 60 cases per pallet. I'll put on there the minimum order quantity. I'll put on there the lead time. One thing maybe to make note of is that when I tell you it's a 5-day lead time, that means it's a stock item for us. We keep it in stock. We give ourselves 5 days to ship it. If you call me tomorrow with an order and you need it to ship tomorrow, first of all, get me the order by noon and write on the PO that it says must ship today, and we'll get that accomplished. If it's drop shipping to a customer, it takes us roughly 45 minutes to get that all set up on our computer. So provide me an extra 45 minutes before that noon ship time. Also on there, it's going to have a price per roll, because all of our tape, with the exception of water activated tape, is sold on a per roll basis. Water activated tape is sold on a per case basis. Most of the water activated tape is 10 rolls per case, but if it's different than that, I'm going to tell you that also on that line. And if it's masking, or if it's anything other than water activated tape, I'm also going to have a case price for you on there, and then a minimum order quantity. Everything has a minimum order quantity with us. If it's pressure sensitive curtain ceiling tape, hand rolls like this, in most cases it's a pallet. If it was one of the CorUgrip products, it's typically a case. Masking tapes are typically a case. If it's an oddball size, it may be 10 cases. One thing you'll always notice that we're consistent with is if it's a non-stock item, it'll have a 10-day lead time or a 16-day lead time, and it'll also have an odd order minimum quantity. It'll typically be 5 cases or 10 cases or something like that. So those two things will stand out. The majority of the items that you're going to see on your price page are going to be stock items. Don't let that scare you off. By the way, here's the filament tape. I had it buried. If somebody calls up and says, I've got to have 6-inch curtain ceiling tape, or I've got to have flat back tape that's 6-inch, it's not on my price page. What we do in those cases, I've got an additional list that has all the non-stock items, and I'll let you know what the minimums, lead times, pricing, all those things are. Nearly everything's going to be set up proportionally. I try to throw that in there, nearly everything. So, for instance, if this 48 millimeter is selling for $1, if you buy 50% more, it's going to sell for $1.50. So 72 millimeters is going to sell for $1.50. Kind of how that works out on nearly all these products. Mentioned $3,000 is the key for an order, and if you want to combine, a whole bunch of orders together to, meet that minimum, that's great. There's exceptions to all rules. That's about all I can think of at the moment.
Very good, thank you.
Sure, thank you guys.
Well done, Jen.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you guys didn't get enough today, he'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and a slightly different presentation.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I'll try to get more specific in some of the applications. Packaging is really fun in that there's so much out there. You're going to spend a whole lot of time with this product just because it's the easy lead in with it, but only use that to get to these things, to go to these other things. Say, yeah, we've got this. Everybody's got this. Let's talk about that specialty one case that you only buy once a month. I can help you with that. Here's one. This blew me away. I was at an account. they were buying a Tessa brand tape, comes from Germany. It's 2 inches wide, so it's 48 millimeters. 2 inches wide, and it went on this plate that had hot glue dripping off on it. And this tape was unique in that it allowed this glue to cool, harden a little bit, and then they could roll it off and dump it back in the mix to reuse it again. That's all that tape was used for. This roll of tape, it was this size, it was 60 yards, it was thicker, so it was bigger around. Sold for $295 a roll. And the guy said, do you have anything that did this? So we're trying to find something that will meet that. And I sent in with the caveat to our technical department. I said, by the way, the price on this can be the highest of any tape that we have, because we don't sell anything that's $295 a roll today. So I challenge you to give me the highest price tape that we could possibly sell. As long as it meets the application, we got the deal. So we're in the stages of working through that.